Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Hey, guys, do you see something in the... Oh, no, never mind. It's just a power outlet. Eyes are playing tricks on me. How's everybody doing tonight? We just finished up PORKY'S.
It's just a what?
An outlet?
I was going to reach for it, but
Power
it's just a power
Power
outlet.
outlet.
It's nothing.
There's nothing sticking out?
Going to try to get a good grip.
Nice.
Oh, word.
Just about unplugged the computer. It was kind of embarrassing.
Gotcha.
Put some soap on it.
That was a reach, Dan.
Hey, so Bob
'Cause he
Clark.
jumped right into it.
Yeah, man, Bob Clark.
Around.
Classic director of Christmas Story and Black Christmas. In between, made a comedy classic called PORKY'S.
I didn't think I could think less of him, but here we are.
Oh, Lord. Hey, George, how you
Wow,
doing tonight,
zing.
man? Movie aside.
Pretty good.
Travis, how you hanging on, man?
Hanging in
Are
there.
you going to throttle George if he didn't like your movie?
I don't know. We'll see.
Well, if you have if you have an apple in one of those turning cooker things, you could give him a true Porky's farewell.
I've page and a half of notes.
You
so
guys gonna roast me?
Ooh, slow roasted.
I don't even know if Dan likes this movie.
Probably not.
Why would you presume that I wouldn't like a movie that has no plot and
Kind of has a plot.
Yeah, I mean, like the last 20 minutes of it did.
Well, the plot was to just
Yeah.
to be crazy, raunchy, tell stories of when he was a child, just like the Christmas Story.
Yeah. I think I definitely stopped because after the well, let's just jump right to the end. After
Skip to the end.
After the racist dad, like the son has the confrontation with the dad, and the son decides he's not going to be racist like his dad. He'd rather be a queer than be like his dad. I'm like, okay, yeah, good. Racism is bad. I knew that was coming. And then they were like,
Well, that's kind of the underlining.
yeah. And then the dude was like, oh my God, I think he's collapsed a lung. Get an ambulance. We're going to get Porky back. And I stopped and I was like, what time is it? It's an hour and 18 minutes into an hour and 38-minute movie. And we finally have a plot.
Yeah. Because 80s. It was just it was a formula of young sexual comedies that there's a whole string of them from back then.
And then I thought, do I even care about Porky or the dude that he beat up? And I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. So what did you think of it, Dan?
I mean, I've seen this before. It's funny. It has funny moments. It has moments that make me laugh. But the thing that I didn't realize until this time was that it is just Christmas Story, but with too many characters.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, it's kind of like the sequel to A Christmas Story when Flick and Schwartz and Ralphie and Randy are all grown up in high school.
Is this that same Schwartz?
Put my arms down.
Huh?
Is this the same Schwartz?
It's not the same Schwartz.
May the Schwartz be with
but
you.
the kid in Christmas Story was kind of the Schwartz
But
character.
it would be pretty funny if it turns out that this was the same guy from his childhood.
Right.
And this is a story about him when he was 12, and this is a story about him when he's 19 or however old.
Right. I don't know. Again, it's one of those movies that was.
Well, don't be defeated, Travis.
I'm not defeated.
Convince me.
I don't think I'm gonna.
Oh, come on.
No, because once you get set in your ways, it's
that is
it's a
not
fucking
true. That is
movie.
not true.
So
I have been swayed before.
I've tried to die on hills, and it's just not worth it.
No, please.
So it's like
No, you succeed at dying on the hill. I mean that.
No, I didn't die. On
That part
hill.
happens.
That movie fucking sucked.
Which
That movie sucked.
which movie?
It really doesn't matter. This could
games.
be 3 or 4 movies.
The Australian movie?
Yeah.
Nah, you're wrong about that too. I like that movie.
Okay.
That's fun. Fun movie.
I do like the
Little
part
slapstick.
where the guides chase the naked guys out of the house with a machete. That part's pretty good. That part was fun. I was like, man, these guys... It's weird that a bunch of naked guys are hanging out waiting to like line up for one lady.
This movie boils down to 4 iconic scenes.
It's just very weird.
It's 4 iconic scenes.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm listening, bro. I'm listening. Go ahead. What are the iconic scenes? Actually, let me see if I can guess them.
Go ahead.
The shower scene.
The second most iconic shower scene. Yeah.
Okay.
Psycho being the first.
Right. That's all I got.
The principal scene.
Which
Principal's
one?
office.
Oh, yeah.
That part, that gets me giggling when they're...
That is my...
Yeah.
That is... Picture 13-year-old Travis watching this movie.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
This movie was the kind of movie where you waited till your parents went to sleep and you snuck down. You knew it was coming on HBO and you watched it. You couldn't tape it. You couldn't record it. You had to like look in the TV guide and see when it was coming on and then go down and watch it.
Yeah.
This was that kind of movie where you weren't allowed to watch it. It's like just wall-to-wall raunchy humor, nudity, bad.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw what it was rated for, because when you on Amazon Prime, the first thing that they tell you is this is rated this because of X, Y, Z, and
this had all the checks
and Z, and I was like, oh, I like all those things. This should be a great flick. And then, man, but anyway, yeah, it was like, sex, nudity, violence. I was like, yeah, I'm on board.
I think why it was more, I don't know, because it took place in the 50s. Like, there were other movies that came out at that time, like American Graffiti, which you probably never seen. That was the George Lucas movie about this time
American
period.
Graffiti.
And it was kind of minus the sex, but it was still the same kind of, nights at a burger joint, hanging out, doing stuff. There was another one, Hollywood Nights, came out, was kind of a mixture of American Graffiti and this. It wasn't as raunchy as this, but it had the same
What was
kind
it
of
called?
feel. Basically, you think of Happy Days.
Okay, no
TV show
Happy Days. That's
okay.
a reference that I know.
Okay, so Happy Days in film form would be American Graffiti.
Okay.
And then you have like Hollywood Nights, which is kind of like Happy Days, but a little bit like this. A little bit more toilet humor.
Okay.
A little bit more awareness of shitty racist characters. Like, it kind of was an in-between.
Okay.
And then you have this, which is like, there was movies like Private School and Bust and Losing It and Risky Business and Revenge of the Nerds. Like, all these movies that came out that were just inappropriate.
Okay.
Inappropriate humor, inappropriate nudity, just stuff that was like outlandish. Animal House without the class. Like, Animal House is 10 times better than this. But that's because it's I don't want to say it's classier because it's the same kind of toilet humor, but it's just handled differently. Would you agree with that, Dan?
I think it's a better narrative. Same with Revenge of the Nerds. It feels more complete as a plot. Yeah. This one, it really does just feel like a guy at a party was like, "Hey, let me tell you 4 stories from when I was a 19-year-old kid." And that's basically
the problem that you have with this movie, and that's what makes this movie charming for some people. Not charming in the true sense of the word, but it's important because it's Bob Clark's telling of stories that he collected over time, things that happened, and then he took all those things and accumulated them into some kind of a movie to where basically what was that show, the Billy Joel Broadway play, Moving Out, where they basically took all of Billy Joel's songs and then they created a play around those songs, and the characters would sing these songs that Billy Joel wrote, but they had formed these characters to make it make sense that they were singing certain songs. So with this, it's like he has all these stories, and pretty much everything in this movie happened. But then there's embellishments, and there's stuff that, like, he took this story from this guy, and this story from his own high school, and this story from this and that, and then he kind of put it together in, like you're saying, you finally get the plot later. Porky existed, like all that kind of not rest stop, that kind of
Like,
gentleman's club.
Called it
existed.
a nightclub, but I think that was really rounding up a little bit.
Right. So, oh yeah,
Right. Yeah.
We have one of those near us called what the hell was that place called on 73? But when the Riviera, when we were younger, everybody would always just make fun of the Riv. Like
It's still there.
It's still there. We had another one. That
What part
is
of
gone.
what part of the
No maps,
oh, okay.
but it is Pensacola. The road that would take you to
I just
Haddonfield.
gave up. You were like, no maps. It's like, okay.
It's too windy for the helicopter to take off. It's like the
too
end
windy.
times outside here in Kansas City. It's insane.
Yeah, you guys are celebrating with tornadoes every night.
Well, it's like instead of tornadoes, it's just like straight line winds, and there's a giant like brush fire halfway across Kansas, and it's just covered the entire metro area in the smell of like a campfire. It's really weird.
There's a helicopter.
Ooh, very dangerous. You better set that thing down.
Yeah. So, and it kind of reminds me of when I used to say working at the movie theater, we always had all these characters that worked there, all these things that happened, maybe wouldn't make sense in movie form, but they are great stories. And I think that's what he had to work with.
If you guys heard that, that was me filling up another glass of wine.
Yeah. So,
You know, the thing
There's
is, we've watched a few comedies on this show. We're not really as consistently into the comedies as we are the other stuff, because every time we watch comedy, one of us loves it, one of us is kind of indifferent, and one of us hates it. I think universally that's been every comedy except for Wayne's World.
That's
because
the
Wayne's
purpose
World,
of comedy.
everybody loves Wayne's World. But
Well, there's plenty of shit to hate in Wayne's World, but we just didn't.
Wayne's World was fantastic.
so you've got Wayne's World, though, where it's a lot of the same stuff. It's like little silly sketches combined into an overarching narrative. The difference is, though, you start from moment one with the Wayne's World TV show and the journey it's going to go on. And that's the thing I think Porky's is missing is, yes, it's called Porky's, and at the end we're going to fight Porky. And we see Porky once before the big battle begins. But they don't give you enough to bite onto in the first 35 minutes of the movie to know what direction this is going to go. And so then it just feels like sitting around listening to a guy tell stories, and then at the end he tells the best story.
Right. It's antics. The whole movie is just antics.
Where are the consequences?
It does feel like it feels aimless.
But I think they correct it. Like, without movies like this, you don't get American Pie. You don't get Old School. You don't get Road Trip. You don't get Judd Apatow. You don't get people like that make 40-Year-Old Virgin and, Knocked Up. Like, those kind of movies were born from this kind of movie.
Okay, out of all the movies you just listed, I know one of them.
Okay. But that kind of humor was born from this kind of humor.
Which is 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Right.
I do know of American Pie.
Yeah.
But all the other movies that you referenced in defense of this movie, I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
I really feel like this era, the sex comedy era of the early 80s, would not exist after, say, at the absolute latest, like 94, whenever on-demand cable starts to be a thing and people can see nudity from their television set. So, like, you don't need to necessarily ramp up the gratuitous nudity in a movie. And then also now John Hughes has come along and changed what comedy can be and given it so much more substance that it's like, well, we don't need a movie full of nudity anymore. And also we need a plot. Like, give me characters who grow and don't just like continue to antic.
But this movie's a victim of what the recipe was back then. Like, Revenge of the Nerds has a minute plot. And it's just basically, well, how many things can we do to these guys throughout the movie? And then we'll show you the plot at the end. But it happens in, like, Mr. Mom. It happens in a lot of movies in the 80s where there's an end goal, but they they just do a lot of filler.
The difference, though, is in those ones where they do a bunch of filler, at least you're seeing growth from the characters. And that's why I brought up Consequences, because it's like from moment one, these guys are jackassing around with their friends, and in every turn, nothing happens to them.
Well, you get growth with the
Yeah, you get growth, and also like there was some consequences.
And
like
you got the friends that were like, he's a shithead. But
he got ejected from the basketball team for 2 games for being a shithead.
Yeah,
the
but
coach was
like,
told he was going to be fired.
I mean,
don't
one guy
know.
got his dick grabbed by a wolf.
But then he got away. I don't know.
And no consequences.
And like the cops watch the guy and with the chili at the thing, and I'm just like, oh, that's funny, but like at the same time, it's just another example of the kids getting away with it.
There's absolutely no consequences.
But
The only one who has consequences
I'm almost thinking a lot of that shit happened in the 50s.
The coach, who is eventually going to get fired, maybe, but he seemed pretty cool with that. And then the mean lady, who at the end
she gets arrested.
So she's the only one who has like real consequences.
Kong?
Mrs. Ballbreaker.
Ballbreaker. Whoa.
Ballbreaker. Yeah.
But it's just it's interesting. It's strange. One thing that really hit me this time, and it didn't hit me as hard last time I watched it. As you're watching the credits roll, they're doing more of this same stuff. And if the credits weren't rolling, it would be indistinguishable from any other part of the movie. It's just weird because it's like they realize this is kind of a throwaway bit. We're just going to run the credits next to it. At the same time, like, it's really no worse than most of the movie.
Right.
It's just weird.
Well, I think the problem is you say there's no plot. I think one of the plots, as loose as it was getting Pee-wee laid. So in a way, he kind of looked at Bob Clark probably looked at that as tying loose ends in a 1981 way, tying up loose ends. I mean, there's really,
nothing says well tied up loose ends like him winning sex as part of a bet and then having to perform it like in front of all his friends. Like, I don't know, man. This movie's weird.
I didn't say it had taste.
It just seems odd. Like, I don't know. I've seen tasteless humor in a lot of places, and this, it's like, yeah, I guess it's the thing where, like, what's the folk song that says the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference, right? So it's like the opposite of taste isn't bad taste, it's like bland no taste, in which case, yeah, it did lack taste. Huh.
Oh, there's no taste in this movie.
But it wasn't necessarily like bad taste. Like, it wasn't being done. Some of it was done like to be in bad taste. A lot of it was just like, it's not great taste, but it's also not as bad as it could be. We could go way worse. We're not going to.
So what are the other 3 scenes?
Well, you have the Polly the penis in the shower.
Okay, yeah. That was,
the principal's office.
The principal's office.
Get the sketch artist. That part's funny. I like that a lot.
Well, I wanted to talk about that scene because that's the scene that I mentioned last week that I when I watched it when I was a kid,
remind me.
I pissed myself. Like, it was
the principal's office scene where she's asking for the lineup.
Yeah, that scene and the scene where Lassie is howling and the coach is laughing behind the mat.
Okay, that scene went on. When the Lassie scene, far too long.
It was supposed to.
Far too long.
That's the joke. It's a running joke. It's not a 5-second joke. It's a running joke. It's supposed to be that way.
It's Orange Glad I didn't say banana.
Yeah, it's that kind of joke.
Yes.
But I love it because the buildup of the coaches laughing. The coach, like, literally losing his shit, and the kids like Pee-wee can't even catch the basketball. Like, they're just, to me, it was a nice little window in on these characters. But if you hate it, then you don't see that.
I don't hate it. You're
not going to see anything
I
liked about this movie, right? Because you went in this thinking you were going to care for these people.
No, well, I don't know. They
don't do anything to care about.
I had high hopes.
They're shitty people.
When you think it's gonna be a sex comedy, Like those are two things that I really like.
Again, it's been done a lot better since.
Yeah.
Like American Pie, and like you watch American Pie after watching this, you're gonna go, okay, I see the influence, but I see the all out, 200% improvement. Because it's kind of like watching Scream. You could watch 35 slasher films, and Dan will say, well, that's good because there's maggots in it.
And listen,
but then you watch
a lot of those Jason movies were like really, really bad.
Right. But what I'm saying is when you watch someone who takes that formula and then gives it the love that you guys are talking about,
you
then
get Scream. Yes. So is American Pie the Scream of sex comedy?
It's one of them.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Dan? Or your silence is...
It's pretty good. It's a lot better at character development. Like, you care, even like 20 minutes into the movie, you care about a lot of these characters a lot more than you do here. And a lot of that just comes down to how much screen time they gave individual characters instead of just big groups of goofy kids.
Well, that, and I think when you're talking about the early 2000s, late 99s, they cared more about character development. In the 80s, we've discussed this multiple times that, yeah, they could have done that, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Because back then it wasn't about, let me see that kid at home and see his dad do a 20-minute build-up of character development and his relationship with his father. No, we're going to do it the 81 version where we're going to show you who he is by showing him drunk on a motorcycle. And we know he's an asshole. Like, we're not going to get into the whole detail. And that's what they did back then. Nowadays, if they made Porky's, they would probably show more of his relationship with his dad and that arc. There will be more arcs.
Okay,
in 81, there's no arcs in this movie.
81, blame 81, I guess. Maybe that's fine.
Or 82. I would blame the genre more because they're going more the Blazing Saddles route where it's like, okay,
right.
we have this underlying racism tone, but we want to keep it light.
Well, Blazing Saddles was way better than this.
Well, of course it was, because it's Mel Brooks.
Way better.
Well, and you had characters who
I wasn't comparing it to either.
Hack into. Yeah. It's weird. You look at Black Christmas, and I think you have better character development than you do in this movie. You have 2 or 3 characters who are your main guys, and right away, Margot Kidder jumps out the screen, right? Olivia Hussey, Jamie Lee Curtis is her way through the movie. And then you look at Christmas Story and you have the, fantastic character development there. Smaller cast, which helps. But I think the thing that I'm noticing as I look through the credits on these, Bob Clark only did like the screenplay touch-ups on Black Christmas and on Christmas Story. And I think maybe we found like the weakness in Bob Clark's arsenal. Maybe you don't let Bob Clark write the whole movie. Maybe you let somebody else write the story first, and then let
Christmas
Bob
Story
clean it up.
was source material, was it not?
Gene Shepard wrote that.
Yeah.
So it's based on somebody else's book, and Bob Clark makes the screenplay based on it with the help of the author. So you're not held back by whatever Porky's is as far as storytelling mechanics. Same with Black Christmas, at least it's based on somebody else's script. So we were singing Bob Clark's praises last week, but maybe not the strongest writer, but still a good director, He made the stuff that happened in Porky's very memorable.
I don't know if he's a good director. I found out he also directed Rhinestone.
I've never seen Rhinestone, and I don't really plan on seeing it.
No, don't watch it. It's bad. I'll give George the premise. Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Is through a bet, kind of like Trading Places. Through a bet, Dolly Parton has to turn this truck driver into a country star. So you get Sylvester Stallone learning how to sing country music.
Oof.
Yeah, it's bad.
Woof.
And yeah, it's really bad. Even though Dolly Parton's in it and I love her, it's so bad.
Yeah, actually, Dolly Parton is one of those people that like exists in our lifetime that like everyone should appreciate her.
Yes.
Agreed.
She's one of those.
Yeah, there's like a movie called 9 to 5, which is a great movie, but is dated, and you'll probably hate it. because
No.
it's ahead of its time for when it came out.
What is it called again?
9 to 5.
9 to 5, and I won't like it because it's dated.
I just don't know if you'll like it.
Does it have a plot?
Yes.
Then I'll like it. Then
Oh.
probably.
But
I like,
I thought
dude.
this had
I
a
like
plot.
old movies, man. I like old movies. I like old
It's
books.
not an old
it's gotta
movie.
be like
It's from the same time period.
okay. Well, I mean, it's just gotta be good. That's all. You know, I like old stuff. I mean, everything new is just a revamp of like, old stuff anyway. And I'm not even talking about like stuff from the 80s. I'm talking about like, like I don't know,
It's one of those
ancient
movies
Greece or whatever.
we
Like
might
it's all
not-
the same shit.
we
over
probably
and over
wouldn't do
again.
that show. Do it on the show.
What?
9 to 5, but it's worth watching because it's got Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Dolly Parton, Dabney Coleman. It's a good cast.
You guys showed me a black and white movie from like 1960 called Psycho, and I liked it.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the
I'm
top
not-
10 best films ever made. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
we
not-
Yeah.
went in kind of right over the plate on that one. But
Yeah, but like,
Yeah.
it's not just,
We kind of used a top 100 list on that puppy.
Yeah, I know, but like dated, like what's quote unquote
I mean, dated, like-
mean? Does
Like
I
this
mean
is dated.
black and white is dated? Shoot, like
Content dated. You might sit
Okay.
there and go, okay, this is way 80s and I don't like it. Like, it's just possible.
I did like the prank call bit. That was pretty funny. I liked
That
how I
was-
could see the germ of what eventually becomes Moe's Tavern. You know,
Yes.
even like some of her, the buildup that she uses in the bar is adopted by Moe on The
Yes.
Simpsons. So that's fun.
That scene was another one.
I still don't
that's
get the
kind of
joke though. Can
iconic.
you explain it to me?
what was?
What's the joke?
I don't remember any of this.
It's some guy named Michael. I don't know. It just
Michael Hunt?
everybody's laughing and I didn't get it. Can you explain the joke to me, Travis?
Why do I have to explain? What
Oh.
are you talking about? do you
Everybody
want me to
was
explain it?
laughing, and the lady kept saying
Yeah.
the guy's name, and I know a lot of guys named Michael. I don't think it's that funny.
She didn't say Michael every time.
Oh,
And then she says, has anybody seen Mike Hunt?
I'm kidding.
Mike?
Yeah, of course. I'm just
Yeah.
fucking with
So
you. But
it's and then
Mike?
and then Tommy's like, or no, I think Meat said, I believe everybody here has.
oh man.
So yeah,
What about Ben?
slut shaming. I know Dan.
Yeah,
loves
there's a
that
lot
too.
of misogyny just kind of like built
Yes.
into this culture at the time, and
Oh yeah.
I wasn't there. I don't know
That's
how.
why I'm surprised you even said that you wanted to watch this.
Well, it's
When you said-
interesting. It's a
I wasn't sure I was getting set up, and now I realize I was.
no. It's. I mean, I went in thinking I liked it because last time I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but yeah, where's the beef as far as the plot goes? George doesn't get that
Yes.
reference either.
What?
Mhm.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
I thought I did, but maybe I
think
don't.
I think the problem is there's too many mini plots, like little snippets that really don't tie together until you get to the end. So that's when you're saying, why did we wait that long to get to the point? Because it's called Porky's. If it wasn't called Porky's, you wouldn't be waiting to find out who the fuck Porky is.
It
right?
should be called Pee-wee's.
It should be called Pee-wee's Small Adventure.
Small Adventure. That would have been good.
Yeah. Pee-wee's Miniature Adventure.
So the principal scene.
Okay, so the principal scene is the one that made you piss yourself. For real.
It's a 4.5 minute single shot.
Yeah,
Scene.
I noticed that.
Single shot.
It's impressive.
It's stage humor. It's like a play.
It's very good.
You can't disagree. Okay.
No,
That,
it was
to
very
me-
good. I don't disagree. That was funny.
And the fact that the old man
Mhm.
is seeing them. I mean, he's hearing their
Dude,
laughter.
I can't think about the scene without laughing.
Right, and then
it was
her.
good. I agree.
Her.
Yes, she's
Like, you
she's
can see it in
out
her
of
face.
control.
She wants to laugh. But she's not. Like, the two of them aren't breaking. But
yeah,
the other three are freaking. Well, the older guy.
put
is
Jimmy
not.
Fallon in that room. It's
Oh,
ruined.
it's over.
It's ruined.
It's
Ruined.
over.
Yeah, it's
Ruined.
really it's a unique scene because it's like the rare organic laughter
Mhm.
of a stage play
Yes.
in a live audience, kind of.
I'm
But
laughing
without
at it right now.
Jimmy Fallon there to just break too early and ruin everybody's mood.
Yep.
It was good, man. That was a good 4 minutes. It's fine. I mean, the movie's got a lot of funny slapstick stuff, but I just, if you just...
What do you always say? They're not all going to be Gone with the Wind or whatever. They're not.
And it's fine. And
That's
it's, it does the thing. I just wish that, it wouldn't have taken much to establish Porky as the big bad in the first 10 minutes and establish that plot and then have that looming over them as they're getting into hijinks, but also planning the revenge, right? You could have made that work and they just didn't.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's a sign of him as a writer or where the state of comedy was at the time, but
I think it probably was the state of comedy at the time, because a lot of movies back then, it started out just like this, where it's like, okay, we're gonna build a universe of students, and then put them in situations.
Okay, so all right, what are all the different plots we had here? Because there was the racism is bad plot, right, which I can think of a lot of movies.
Okay.
I can think of so many movies that did it better. Way better.
In context.
So
not so many.
Racism is bad. I already gave you one example. There is trying to get Pee-wee laid.
Yeah. There's the prank battle between Pee-wee and Wendy.
Okay.
Constant.
Prank battle.
There's the setup. The first plot is them to set up their friends to think they're going to get killed by that huge guy with the machete.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first
the guy with the gold
subplot.
teeth.
Yeah, it was the first subplot where it's like, oh, we're gonna trick these guys, almost like an initiation, college initiation.
They're gonna shit.
Okay. What's funny about that scene?
What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to think of movies that took each of these little subplots,
right,
and did them really well.
Well, it's going to be hard for you because you don't have many references.
Well, that's why I have you two.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure there's plenty. I'm trying to think of
I think 40-Year-Old Virgin, which I have seen that, is
brilliant.
Wonderful as far as a getting Pee-wee laid.
It's a brilliant
movie.
Yeah.
Right? But like you said, maybe you don't have that if you don't have this.
Actually, that's a good example movie because it also has the subplot of the four characters trying to one up each other or trying to, like Seth Rogen's characters trying to teach.
I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Yeah, a lot of the things in this movie are in that movie.
But I remember how it made me feel.
Much better. Right. The sex antics are there.
Mm-hmm.
Him he put on 32 rubbers.
Dude,
one's on his toe. She's like, oh my God.
The
daughter.
One thing that I kept coming back to with Porky's tonight, it felt like a clip show from a really interesting, Freaks and Geeks, but made for HBO type show. Here's the best of clip show, hour and a half from 2 seasons of an HBO unrated sex-based high school show. And then it's like, oh yeah, we hit all the high points from the show, the nastiest bits from this 2 seasons of TV.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That's exactly what it felt like.
But the argument could be the same argument that you always use for not so good 80s slasher
I learned it from watching you, Travis.
They were this movie was one of the first ones. There are tropes, but they're tropes because of movies like this.
He's got a point, but is this the first though?
It's not the very first, but it's in a group of movies that kind of didn't.
It's a representative of a group of movies that.
It's not
that did this.
Yeah, it's not a romantic comedy.
We might need to do the Psycho to Chainsaw to Black Christmas to Halloween on this one. We might need to at some point watch an Animal House.
Yeah.
Find some more kind of bombastic comedy because they've been doing comedy since the 20s. We just have to find something more in this vein a little bit before to see if
we're not
this
talking
movie,
about comedies.
I want to know if this movie
sexual.
I want to know if this movie grows on what was already being done in comedy. Or if this is just a poorly done comedy that succeeded because it had a lot of boobies in it. That's what I want to know.
didn't even have that many
Yeah,
boobies.
it really wasn't. Other than the shower scene, there was hardly any.
Well, but compared to the 60s, it was a ton of boobs.
Right.
So, I need to see more. I need more evidence. I need to go on this journey because this isn't one I've ever intended to take, right? I've seen Animal House. I've seen this. I've seen Private School. And
yeah, so Dan has to start piecing together the timeline.
You've got to do the
He's got
narrative.
to find a few Jollos with some sex comedy.
He's got to find some Italian and French movies that come out like the year before each of these.
Yes.
He's got to be invested. Right now, he's not invested. He's just like,
he says,
fuck it. What's the next horror movie we're doing? He's like, stop with these comedies.
We all know who we are.
Live your truth, man.
Without this movie, you don't get A Christmas Story. You don't. The agreement he had was if he makes Porky's 2, they'll let him make A Christmas Story.
All right, so Porky's 2.
No, he had to make Porky's 2. Without Porky's 1, you don't get Porky's 2. So the success of this movie gave him the green light to make A Christmas Story. Just saying.
A Christmas Story is a very good movie.
It's a classic.
It's
instant classic.
Yeah, it's very good.
I think a lot of what makes Christmas Story great, and I never considered it until I watched Porky's fail at this, but Christmas Story taps into the universal familial, doesn't matter your background. It doesn't even really matter what country you grew up in, right? Like this isn't necessarily, it's an American story, but there's so much of this even, in France, right? We talked about France a lot this month. No matter where you grow up, you've got a mom and a dad, or at least a parental figure of some sort. You've got siblings or something akin to siblings. Like it doesn't take a lot of shoe leather to get you into Randy and to get you into Ralphie. And so
the depression struggle is pretty universal too.
Yeah, so you've already got like this built up kinship with the characters, and then they can go on their antics while still growing toward this big plot, right? There's an overarching plot from the beginning, and also you have character growth. Whereas in Porky's, not everybody was a horny 17-year-old in the 50s. And so it's like already you're like, okay, these are characters I will see, but maybe I'm not going to feel, part of this group. And then from there, they forget the plot until the very end.
I think why this movie has so much appeal to my generation is we were brought up on Happy Days reruns where innuendo did occur, but because it was television.
Yeah, it was much more nuanced.
Right. It was more, very obscure references and this and that.
Which I prefer, actually.
Yes, especially with that era. Like, you go back to Leave It to Beaver, and they make a joke of that in the 80s many times where June is like, I think you've been a little hard on the beeve. Like, you can't in the 50s television make those comments. But when you listen to like 50s music, Under the Boardwalk, like a lot of the music back then still has sex and drugs.
All
and
music is about sex.
But it was very nuanced, like you said. With this movie, it's like, it was almost like if Happy Days let their hair down.
I shouldn't say all music. I should say
you want to see Richie Cunningham, who is Pee-wee.
Yes.
You want to see them let their hair down. You want to see Fonzie, who's like, Meat or whatever. Like you're seeing Happy Days characters, Potsy's, Ralph Mouth. You're seeing all of them in this movie in a different light. So I think that's why this movie did so well. Same thing with Laverne and Shirley. Like Laverne and Shirley is a spin-off of Happy Days. And you get those female characters. And the female characters in this movie, even though it is a misogynistic movie, the female characters are very strong characters.
I didn't care about a single one of them.
No, you didn't care. But for the time period, you didn't get strong female characters. You didn't get people that stood up for themselves. You got a bunch of either, damsels or...
Did they stand up for themselves, though? Because that one had to bang that guy on a bed.
I think they did. In a weird way, like Wendy always had control.
That one stripper beat that guy until the bouncer came and beat him worse. But other than the stripper smacking the guy, I don't remember any woman actually standing. I mean, some of them went toe-to-toe on the gags, right? Like that one ran around with the giant prophylactic, which was hilarious. But,
But like when Wendy, even though she was a tool for whatever sexual joke or whatever they were going to do or bet, she had control. She could choose not to do things, and she did them. Lassie stands up to pretty much everybody. She does
get up in the grill.
I just saw her laying down mostly, but
that only happened once.
She gave it back to Ballbreaker pretty good.
She gave it.
Oh yeah,
she
did.
You're right. I just think that in an 1982 way, you think about 1982, there weren't many strong women characters in movies. Like Dan said, there's a lot of misogyny in this movie, and all the main characters are men. But you get a Wendy in there, you get a Honeywell, you get Miss Ballbreaker, you get these characters that are like, she's basically a fascist Nazi in this movie, and she's pretty much in control of everybody's life. She's not like
she reminded me of the
she's Nurse Ratched. She's Nurse Ratched.
Oh, I was thinking of the movie Matilda.
Okay.
What's the
the headmistress lady?
Yeah, whatever her. That's it. She reminded me of.
Hey, so one thing that we need to address, and I don't think we have 100% yet, the nostalgia for the 50s, not just from Happy Days, but just in the culture in the 80s. This nostalgia for before the 60s, before the 70s, before it got weird, when things were more simple, is going to be stronger in the 80s than any time since. Just like we now look back at the 90s, like my kids are big Pearl Jam and Stone Temple Pilot fans, and they think today's music sucks.
Your kids are so cool.
I do have cool kids. They also say new metal sucks, which hurts my soul a little bit, but they're just like, ugh, new metal, ugh. And they're right. I mean, it does suck, but But anyway,
I'm not into those genres of music that much. But if your kids think it sucks, it probably does.
They're pretty smart. Now, but here's the other thing, though. First episode of this show, we talk about Back to the Future, which is littered with nostalgia for this exact period.
Yes.
And so, in a lot of ways, we're closing up season 2 by going back to the beginning again.
Yeah, because there's a lot of tasteless humor in Back to the Future. It's very nuanced.
Some of it is not.
Some of it is not. Like when Biff's talking, he's basically all these characters in Porky's. Like Biff is Porky's characters. I wasn't sure if we were segueing into Revenge of the Nerds.
Let's segue into anything else. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad.
Porky's 2. The next day.
The principal scene was funny. It was good.
And it was well acted for what funny. It was.
Like Bob Clark said, a lot of that shower scene was cut out because the movie was X rating. Like he said, there's a part in that scene where Ballbreaker is both feet up on the wall, pulling on his penis, and they took it out. But that would have been funny to see her completely both feet on that wall.
That's pretty funny.
But that scene has to be outlandish, or the principal scene doesn't work.
Right.
Because her deadpan talking about it, the mole. I saw the mole.
Show me every penis in the senior class, and I will tell you which penis I saw.
She's like, bring in Tommy and 5 random students, and I'll pick his out. And it's like, you just asked to look at 6 of your students' penis.
It is pretty hilarious that she is like the Jason Voorhees in the brush at the end during the credits, and then immediately tries to de-pants the guy. Like, what the hell,
wrong.
Man?
It's wrong. Well, she wanted to be right. She wanted to be right.
How can it be wrong when you know she's so right?
There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. Are you familiar with the show Webster?
Oh, I have this in my notes too. Go on.
Okay. So the show Webster, George, have you ever seen the show Webster? It was a little African-American boy that was adopted by 2 white parents in the 80s.
No.
Yeah. So then none of this will matter.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I seen that. Go ahead.
Anyway, kind of pre-Huxtables, trying to think of pre-Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like that kind of
I know both of those shows.
So you go about 10 years prior.
Yeah.
from that,
Mhm.
and you get the Webster TV show. Just a
The-
beloved
The
couple.
Webster TV show.
Yeah, a beloved couple that takes in this kid, and kind of like Punky Brewster, which was another show back then.
Mm.
It was a big thing back then about adopted kids, and almost like Annie inspired
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
kind of
Annie.
thing, taking these kids out of their situation and putting
Pippi
them in a nest.
Longstocking.
Yeah, Alf.
Alf.
So-
Yep, Alf. Yeah.
Small Wonder. Like there was a lot of shows in the 80s that kind of dealt with adoption and, kids being in families that weren't theirs.
Yeah.
So,
They were normalizing
yeah, they were kind of
the odd family.
It was also social justice in a way, like giving these kids who've had shitty upbringings are now
sure
in a rich house.
yeah,
Silver
no, I
Spoons.
don't say that in a bad way. It was like normalizing like any kind of
Right,
family that was
right.
a family is cool.
Yeah,
like,
Silver Spoons was another one.
Yeah.
Where, like, it was an 80s thing. So anyway,
yeah, sure.
Alex Karras, who plays the sheriff in this movie,
The bad sheriff, not the hunky
the
one.
bad sheriff, not the good sheriff, not the hot one.
Okay, he
not
was
the one that's
he
in
was
Black Christmas.
terrible. He was a terrible actor. Prove me wrong. But go ahead.
Terrible actor?
Yes. Terrible. Remember how you said like if you're going to cut somebody off,
Yes.
like you have to like cut somebody off? When Porky was like covering his mouth,
Yeah.
he was not even like he was delivering the lines to a point, and then he would stop delivering the line because the hand was on his mouth. But like
And
you
there was
have to
nothing else written.
continue to deliver
Right.
the line.
You have to know your character enough to continue that line even if it's not written.
right.
That's what you're taught.
Yes.
If your line is, yeah, but
I mean, he literally the line was, "Listen, listen, motherfucker."
Right. Finish
And
that.
it was mother.
Right.
Now, just to
But
be
he
fair,
needs to say
George,
under the hand. He needs to say,
Yes.
like you need to hear that.
now,
You're
George,
right.
when most of these guys were in drama school or, whatever it is that actors do before they go to be in Porky's,
Mhm.
Alex Karras was playing on the defensive line for the
Yeah,
Lions.
NFL. He was an NFL football
So, like,
player.
Oh, okay.
He was
He
busy.
got jobs because he was big.
Oh,
now,
yeah?
I am going to
Oh,
I'm going to
yeah?
give you a little bit of
Mm.
who he really is.
That's a
that you
vine.
would like.
That's a Matt Bengal vine.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Mm.
Are you familiar with the movie Blazing Saddles?
Familiar with it? Yes, I've
Okay.
seen the first 15 minutes of it like 14 times.
Do you remember the character of Mongo? The guy who punches the horse out. And then the sheriff goes, Candygram for Mongo.
Yeah.
Candygram for Mongo. Oh, Mongo.
Mm-hmm.
That's Alex Karras. It's the same guy. He plays Mongo.
Okay.
So he kind of made a thing. He was kind of like a...
He was a
maybe
heavy,
like,
essentially.
yeah, maybe when Hulk Hogan makes movies, you know what you're getting from him. The Rock's a little different. The Rock has some
I just thought
range.
of that's exactly who I thought of. I was like, well, why isn't The Rock that
Because The
bad?
Rock is a talent. He wasn't a football player that got a job because he was big. He's an actor who's big enough to play football. There's a difference.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
Alex Karras did the show Webster. He was the
Who's
father.
who's the sheriff?
Who's the sheriff. So he was good enough to do a TV show after this.
The sheriff in this movie, the bad sheriff,
Yes.
is
The bigot.
the father of a little African American
Yes.
child in a sitcom.
And a very nice guy.
And his wife on the show.
Mind-
Yeah.
His wife on the show.
blown.
Oh, it's going to get blown
It
even
gets
more.
it's
Please.
blowier.
His wife in the show,
It gets blowier.
who is another really nice person.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tell me all about her.
She's in this movie as well.
Oh.
She plays the very first hooker that they meet before they're chased out.
What's her name?
What was her name?
It's something Cherry something.
Yeah, Cherry
Forever
Blossom,
Cherry?
Forever Cherry. So she
Okay.
is Alex Karras's,
All right, so Forever Cherry and Sheriff What's His Face got together
and they adopted,
and they
a black
adopted
child.
a black
Yes.
child.
What makes it even more
And-
interesting is that those
Oh,
two.
there's more.
Yes. Oh, there's more.
Okay, there's more.
Wait, there's more. They're married in real life.
Which- Shut the fuck up.
And they've been married for 35 years.
Were they
or-
married before this movie,
I don't know.
or did this movie bring them together?
I think probably being on Webster brought them together. But then again, they might have been on Webster because they were already together. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Do more research.
Also, he's passed away, sadly. But they made it.
Right.
They were married till he died.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they were married for a long time. 30-something years.
And he's super charming as the dad on Webster. Like, he doesn't...
Yes.
He's a good actor on that show. And
he's a good actor. I think this movie, he might have suffered from bad direction.
do you remember the one where Webster walked in on him changing a light bulb? Do you remember this one?
Oh, God.
Because it's like, they know that they realize that he walked in on them. And the discussion is something like, oh, no, he didn't walk in last night. It was Thursday night. And they're like, Webster, what did you see? And he goes, well, I walked in and you were in bed and he was up on a ladder changing a light bulb. And they go, oh, thank God. And he goes, I just have one question. Why were you naked? I haven't seen that clip in 30 years, and it's just, it's good. I mean, it's
the
a
other
funny
twist
show.
to that show is Webster's playing like an 8-year-old. The kid, Emmanuel Lewis, is playing like an 8-year-old boy, and he's like kind of like the same disease that Arnold from Different Strokes had. He's like 20 years old.
Arnold from Different Strokes.
He just looked like a little kid. So he was playing like an 8-year-old kid, and I think he was like 16 or something.
What's the real name of Arnold from Different Strokes?
Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman. Okay, I know who you're talking about.
So he had the same.
He looks like a kid, but he's not.
Right.
He's just
adorable.
Yeah, he's just small.
Just adorable. So Webster was adorable, and he was a big thing in the 80s. Big enough that Michael Jackson brought him to the Grammys.
Oh.
God, I remember when Gary Coleman died.
Yeah. So picture in this movie, Archie Bunker and Edith Bunker playing a stripper and a racist sheriff.
Yeah, basically.
And that's it's not might not be a stretch for Archie Bunker, but
no.
I'm trying to think of Lucy and Desi Arnaz.
Mm-hmm.
Picture them, one playing a stripper. It could be either.
Yeah, I was gonna say not the one you expect, but
yeah.
I was gonna say
let Desi be the stripper. I don't care, and then Lucy can be the racist sheriff. But it still would be weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that was when I saw her, and
Lucille Ball. She just reminds me too much of like my mom.
Your mother, yeah.
Yeah.
And your sister.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's very similar.
Now I hear you. She's very Warner.
Pick somebody else.
Lucille Ball is very Warner.
I mean, I love her because she reminds me of my mom. Like Lucille Ball's like.
Well, so does Jamie Lee Curtis, which is creepy.
Yeah, yeah, kind of.
Oh, the things we learned in season 2, guys. The things we learned.
I mean, actually, the only thing that's similar with JLC and my mom is the hairdo.
The hairdo. Yeah.
Why did and fair play, JLC had the hairstyle first.
Yes, but if you watch a movie like Freaky Friday, or
I have seen Freaky Friday.
She don't remind you of your mother in Freaky Friday?
How many Freaky Fridays were there?
I don't know. Just that one.
George, have you relocated to the red couch? I feel like you're laying on the couch right now.
I have to.
It's the one with Lindsay Lohan.
Yes, I've seen that one. She was the mom in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago, and
then there was a movie.
Oof.
There was a movie that came out.
Freud fucked me up just now.
There's a movie where all the parents get locked in the basement, and the kids kind of make them stay down there because they're on the verge of divorce, or they were divorced. It's Kevin Pollak and Jamie Lee Curtis. Can't remember the name of the movie, but plays that mother figure in that movie too, and she reminds me a little bit of your mother in that as well. So, yeah, it's there.
Man,
sorry.
Sorry.
It'll get really uncomfortable. When
you know what?
True
You know
Lies.
what? No, it's not. It's not going to
He's
ruin.
Kicking it out of his
it's
head.
not going to ruin a fish called Wanda for me.
Okay.
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
Trading Places, though?
It's not. I don't know. I haven't seen Trading Places. No, I have. What was the one that I haven't seen?
It was this season about 4 or 5 movies ago.
No, I'm confusing it with the one
True Lies.
True Lies. Yes.
Right.
Trading Places, True Lies.
That will ruin you as well.
What? True Lies?
Yeah. For different reasons. Can we just talk about my favorite line in that movie?
What's your favorite line in the movie?
Which line and which movie?
True Lies.
But no, we can't talk
he hasn't
about
seen
it.
the movie yet.
Oh, come on.
No.
It's
Nuh-uh. Okay,
It's
say it
my
in French.
favorite line.
Say it in
It's
French.
French.
Then he
I
won't.
don't know it in French. Fuck.
You know what we need to talk about? It has been a few weeks since we've done a guns situation. Does he straight up shotgun that car at the end? Because if not, those are some very convincing special effects. I'm thinking
must
he
really
just
shoot
blasted
it,
that
yeah.
car. And that was a lot of
Yeah.
fun. I enjoyed that.
You know,
part.
I didn't even think of that.
Now, he was in Black Christmas, that guy. That sheriff.
Yeah, I think he was one of the...
The good sheriff?
He was one of the boyfriends, yeah.
But which boyfriend
the
is he?
boyfriend
He's
that-
not the murder one.
No, he's the one that kind of at the end. He's the one that was dating the girl that gets smothered at the very beginning.
Oh yeah, because he helps
Spoiler
Michael
alert.
Keaton
Yeah.
To find the frat house.
Mr. Noodle. Mr.
Mr.
Noodle.
Noodle.
Pretending
Yeah.
to be Michael Keaton.
I love when people say spoiler alert after they spoil shit. Like,
Well, a week after.
What
I mean,
the
everybody who's listening to this probably listened to that last week. So
Yeah.
I hate to even ask, where do we go from here?
I don't know.
I think we've watched a movie that had too many characters, not enough plot. I think we need to
Mhm.
go to a movie that has less
Too much plot.
characters and a ton of plot. And I think we
Castaway?
should go to the movie that
Castaway.
we
it
were
sounds like Castaway.
the movie
yeah.
we were going to watch, Travis, for this episode before we switched everything up. Hometown favorite of yours?
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. It's not much of a segue, but
It's a season finale,
It's-
season premiere, man.
yeah, season
It's
finale.
Let's
a movie
start
It's
season
a
3 with a movie.
Okay.
called.
We're going to do a movie that I don't think has ever suffered from the complaint of lack of plot or character development.
Okay.
It's something you've been wanting to watch for a while.
Is it now?
Yes. And we're doing this movie to save you from quitting the podcast because we've watched a couple
I would
bad
never.
movies.
I would never quit the podcast. This is too much fun.
Wait, what was the one we watched 2 weeks ago where you're like, I'm done?
Where I told you I was going to quit the podcast.
Oh, was it Deadly Games? No.
He really
It was
didn't
some-
like Deadly Games.
It was something
Yeah.
French.
Yeah, it was Deadly Games.
Yeah.
It was Deadly Games. Yeah.
which I
Mullet,
liked.
muscles,
Mullet Kid.
fire,
Okay.
stabby Santa.
Stabby Santa. And poor dog.
The dog, bro. The dog.
That dog, bro. Okay, so we're going to... Are we ending season 2 with this or starting season 3 with this?
Well, it's going to be a new calendar year, so let's begin season 3.
We are going to start season 3
With a movie
with a movie
that I've wanted to see.
that you've wanted to see.
It's been on my list.
It rhymes with... Starts with R,
Starts with
ends
R.
in Y, and it's Rocky.
Shut the fuck up.
Yes. Now, I don't know
I'm
if you know
finally gonna
anything about this movie.
I'm finally gonna watch Rocky. I know the only thing I know about it is as Sylvester Stallone's in it.
What's he saying? What are you saying,
That's
Dan?
all I know.
Oh, I was humming the theme very
Oh, are you?
quietly.
Ba-na,
Very
ba,
quiet. Dun,
ba-na,
dun, dun, dun. I'm doing the Eye of the Tiger.
ba,
So what did you say, George? All you know
ba,
about this movie is that it's on film?
Banana, banana, yeah. Banana, banana,
What do you know about it?
It's about a boxer,
Yeah.
and he overcomes adversity, I think. I'm not sure. Takes place in Philly. It's filmed in Philly, anyway.
What's the adversity?
I don't know. He's
Is he,
not that
like-
good.
Handicap?
I don't know.
Does he really want to get into a nightclub and the big fat owner won't let him in?
I don't know. He's just trying to get laid or something. I'm not sure.
And his trainer's name is Michael Hunt.
No, I don't know, bro.
And they're always looking for him.
I don't know. Can you believe?
Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I think everybody listening to this can totally believe that you have no idea what it's about.
I don't know, man. I know he's a boxer, man, and there's like scenes that I've seen like parodied, like running up and down the art museum steps. Like I've driven past the art museum like a bajillion times.
Right.
Because that's where I live. Like, anywhere where I need to go in Pennsylvania, I go down the Schuylkill Expressway,
Yes.
and there it is on the right. And
There
when
it
I'm
is.
coming home from anywhere in Pennsylvania,
There it is on the left.
there it is on the left, on the other side of the Schuylkill.
The
but-
damn Schuylkill. The Schuylkill.
Do you know the love
yeah.
interest name? Can you think of that?
It's Adrian.
Ah, maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe
I know
that's a
Adrian.
sequel, though. You don't know.
I know Yo Adrian.
Oh, okay.
You know
Or-
Adrian. Okay.
Or, yeah, it's something like that. Or Hey Adrian or whatever he says. Yeah. And I know that there's a bunch of these movies. And by the way, before I said that my dad was watching Rocky when I was
Born.
being labored, that was actually my older sister.
Oh.
That was the Rocky baby.
Natalie?
Teresa.
Teresa. Okay.
And apparently the story with me was I
Your
shit
dad was
the
watching Porky's?
womb
Oh, nice.
and my mom's water broke.
Yes.
This is very personal. My mom's water broke and it wasn't clear, so my dad
Yes.
freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, meconium.
Yeah, that stuff's
And
dangerous,
we-
man.
So but we figured that was a fun
But
way
was
to-
your dad watching Porky's when you were born?
No, I don't
Okay.
know what my dad was doing. All I know is he had 4 other daughters
Mm.
and he was fine. And then when I came, it was the only baby where he freaked out.
Mm.
But Teresa was the Rocky baby. And I
Wow.
was the freaked out baby.
You were the meconium baby.
because I shit the womb.
Those were some dank memes that you left behind.
Yeah.
I was 2 weeks late,
Yeah,
Wow.
man.
according
So
to my mother.
technically, you were born in a meme.
You know what I was? I was too comfortable.
Mm. Yeah, you just let it loose.
Yeah. I was like, you know what?
Fuck this shit. That's what you
Why
said.
would why would I labor? Why would I birth? It's too comfortable in here.
It's kind of why you
You know?
never watched any movies.
Pretty much,
Probably, yeah. He's like, you know what? It's pretty warm in here. I'm gonna make it warmer.
yeah. It's gross.
Ugh.
It's all gross, man. I'm gonna have to cut so much of that out of the podcast.
So I'm so glad. Yeah, please do. Whew.
No one needs to hear that.
The network's not gonna renew us for season 3 after that.
Or just bleep it. Bleep everything.
Bleeps are
Bleep.
funny.
It is.
They are
It ends up
definitely
like a
funnier.
synth solo for the end of the song,
Yeah.
the end of the show. It's just
It's like the ending of Private Parts.
well, I'm excited, guys, to watch Rocky. I haven't seen it in a long time.
So you'll probably hate it.
I don't know. I liked it last time. I think maybe I hated it last time. We'll find out next week.
We'll find out.
You'll find out next week on the Remedial Film Class Podcast.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Dun dun.
Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can find us at Twitter and Instagram at remedialfilmpod. This concludes our Season 2, but we'll be back next week with Season 3, beginning with the classic Rocky.